Hi, today I'm going to talk about one of the plants that got me interested in gardening later in life. Imagine finding a survivor in your abandoned garden, a plant that survived for more than 10 years without any care while others withered away. This plant is Viburnum tinus, and in this video we will see what makes it so special and also help you decide if it's a good fit for your garden. We'll look into its names, its key features, origins, cultivation needs, and finally we'll see how it can be used to bring year-round interest to your garden. I'll begin by introducing the plant through its name, but if you'd rather skip ahead to other topics, I've included timestamps so that you can easily navigate the video. I'm Susanna, and this is my Mediterranean garden.
The botanical name of this shrub is Viburnum tinus. The name for the genus is Viburnum, which comes from Latin and means wandering tree, likely referring to its ability to spread easily through seeds dispersed by birds. The name for the species is tinus. I could not find any information about the origin of the word tinus. Most of my research just mentioned that it was the original Latin name given to this species. If you happen to know the origin of this name, please let me know in the comments below. The common name is Laurustinus. Laurus refers to the similarity of its leaves with Laurus nobilis, which is the bay tree. Tinus refers to the botanical name of the species. Now, let's look at its unique features to help you identify this shrub in nurseries or gardens. Viburnum tinus is a large multi-branched shrub with an oval form. It is a slow-growing plant reaching an average height of 2 to 3 meters, which is 6 to 10 feet, and a width of around 1.5 meters, which is 5 feet, so it's slightly more upright. However, if it has very favorable conditions, it can reach up to 5 meters, 16 feet or more, and spread 2 to 3 meters, which is 6 to 10 feet. This shrub puts on a different show every season, never taking a break. It starts its cycle in early winter when other plants are starting to fall asleep. Clusters of tiny pink buds that look like pearls start to emerge. During late winter, these buds gradually open into delicate white flowers that brighten up the garden and stay in bloom for a long time, all the way until late spring. When summer arrives, the flowers gradually fade, transforming into lovely metallic blue berries that shine in the summer sun. These berries last until winter or until the birds have eaten them all, while the vibrant green foliage is always present. Then the cycle repeats, with new flower buds appearing in the following winter, an endless performance through the seasons. The stems are upright with a slight bend, starting as grey-brown and woody at the base and then transitioning to softer near the top. They have opposite dark green leaves at each node, sometimes in whorls of 3, and inflorescence at the tips of the branches. The leaves are dark green with shiny, leathery texture, which helps it to be drought tolerant by reflecting excess sunlight and minimizing water loss. The underside is a slightly lighter color. They are oval-shaped with a pointed tip. The edges are slightly wavy and each leaf has a short stem. The inflorescence is quite complex, forming an umbrella-shaped cluster called an umbel. This umbel consists of layers of smaller flower clusters known as corymbs. Each corymb is composed of small individual flowers with 5 white or light pink petals. The flowers also have 5 yellow stamens and a single stigma. The fruit is a small oval-shaped berry with a metallic bluish-black color. It's not safe for people to eat because it's bitter and could be toxic in large amounts, but it is an important food source for birds during the winter. Now you know what it's called and what it looks like, but this still doesn't tell you if it's right for your garden. To find out, we need to see where it comes from and what its natural habitat looks like, so you can recreate those conditions in your garden. Laurustinus is native to the Mediterranean basin, which is the land surrounding the Mediterranean Sea and includes countries from Europe, Asia and Africa. You can find it in forests under shade or at the edges of forests in the sun. These forests often consist of pine, holm oak, or cork oak. It thrives in moist, sheltered locations up to 1,700 meters, that's 5,500 feet in elevation. Now that you know where Viburnum tinus comes from, you'll have a better idea of what it needs to grow and thrive. Let's look at its cultivation needs to learn how to care for it successfully. We will start with its cold hardiness. As we saw earlier, it can grow in mountains at high elevation, so it is fully winter hardy, tolerating temperatures down to minus 12 degrees Celsius, that's 10 degrees Fahrenheit. But only if the soil is well drained. Cold and humid soil can be fatal to it. If your garden receives a lot of rain and the soil does not drain well, then you will need to plant it in a raised bed or in a container. It is normally frost resistant, but if your region is very cold, you should give it some protection, with plenty of mulch or even a frost cover until it is fully established. Sun exposure. This plant thrives in both full sun and shade, but it has more compact foliage and produces a greater abundance of flowers when exposed to sunlight. For example, this plant in my garden has dense foliage and flowers on the side exposed to sunlight, but sparse foliage and no flowers on the shaded side. However, if you live in a very hot and dry area, it will prefer a spot with shade during the hottest part of the day. The soil. Laurustinus prefers moist but well-drained soil, which means it doesn't like neither overly wet soil nor overly dry soil. If your soil is too wet and tends to be soggy, you should create a well-draining spot for it, like a raised bed with amended soil by adding compost and sand. This will allow excess water to drain while retaining the necessary moisture. On the other hand, if your soil is too dry, you may need to amend it with compost when planting and then add a thick layer of compost mulch every year to help the soil retain the moisture it needs. Avoid adding fertilizer to the soil. The slower growth will make the plant stronger, helping it cope better with extreme temperatures and drought. In terms of pH, it can tolerate most types of soil, from slightly acidic to slightly alkaline. Water. Although it prefers moist soil, it is drought tolerant and can go for some months without water, around 3 months of drought if the temperatures are not too hot. So once established, it normally will not need watering unless it is going through a long drought, especially if the winter was dry. However, you will need to give it some water during the first 2 or 3 years until it is fully established and the roots are strong enough to manage its own watering needs. People often ask how frequently they should water, but there isn't a fixed rule. It depends on the weather, the soil type, and the plant's exposure to sun and wind. In general, you might only need to water once every week or two, but in very hot and dry conditions, more frequent watering may be necessary. To help preserve the soil's moisture, you can add a thick layer of mulch around the root area. Wood chips and gravel are good options for mulching. Pruning. Viburnum tinus doesn't need much pruning. However, you might need to do a cleaning prune to keep it healthy or a formative prune to improve its appearance. When to prune? The general rule is to prune after bloom, so wait until it finishes flowering and the last frosts have passed in spring before pruning. It's best to prune as early as possible to avoid interfering with the growth of new branches that will produce flowers the following year. Keep in mind that the year you prune, the plant won't produce its beautiful blueberries. It's a trade-off you'll need to accept if you want to maintain a tidy shape. However, if you prefer a more natural look and want to enjoy the berries occasionally, you can sometimes skip the yearly prune. How to prune? First, start with the cleaning prune. That is, cut back the branches that are dead, diseased, damaged, or dysfunctional. This will allow for better air circulation and lets the light in for a healthy growth. Next, you can just let it grow naturally, or you can give it a light formative pruning to create the shape you wish. It can be pruned into a round shape to give it a more tidy appearance, or it can be pruned into a formal shape, for example, to create a hedge, and it can even be pruned to a single trunk if you wish to have a small tree. By now you'll know whether you can provide the right conditions for this plant to thrive in your garden. If the answer is yes, then keep watching, because next I'll show you some incredible ways Viburnum tinus can transform your garden into something truly special. It's an excellent structural plant for medium to large gardens. However, it can also be a great option for smaller gardens, since it grows slowly when not fertilized or watered. Plus, it tolerates hard pruning, allowing you to keep it at a size that fits your space. It can be used in your garden in the following ways. As a focal point, in its natural shape or trimmed into a more formal shape, it puts on a show all year round with its shiny dark green foliage, clusters of pink buds that then transform into white flowers and later into metallic blue berries. As a wildlife garden, the small flowers provide nectar for bees, while the fruits provide food for birds. Additionally, its foliage offers shelter to small animals. It's an invaluable plant if you would like your garden to support wildlife. As a hedge, its dense growth habit and tolerance to pruning make it ideal for creating a large hedge. In containers, its slow growth and tolerance to hard pruning make it ideal for planting in pots. It's a great way to add taller plants to small spaces or doorways. Finally, as a backdrop, its lush green foliage is perfect for creating a backdrop, allowing other plants to take the spotlight. You can combine it with plenty of other plants as long as they like the same garden conditions. Viburnum tinus does well in both sun and shade, but in this video I'm focusing on a planting design for partial shade. We could create a totally different look with full sun plants, but I decided to go with partial shade because it's often harder to find drought-tolerant plants for shady spots. If you've got a shady area in your garden and unsure what to plant, this is for you. Let's see a planting combination that provides interest all year round. Starting in spring, we can add the smaller dome-shaped Cistus salvifolius and the mat-forming Achillea umbellata to spread white flowers across the different layers of our arrangement. We can also add some color with the vibrant pinks of Cistus crispus and Geranium sanguineum, or even the intense red of Salvia microphylla. As we move into the summer and the white flowers fade away, its dark green leaves help the flowers of other plants stand out. Then, slowly, the metallic blueberries appear, creating a beautiful contrast with the vibrant pink of Geranium sanguineum, and later into the autumn with the intense red of Salvia microphylla. As winter approaches and the other plants step back, our Viburnum tinus keeps the show running with its pretty flower buds brightening the winter garden. If you like this plant combination, I would like to offer you the design package for free. To download it, you just need to click the link in the video description below or scan the barcode on the screen. And if you'd like to learn about another drought-tolerant plant, I invite you to watch this video next. It's filled with key information to help you decide if you can add this plant to your garden also. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.